Thank you. If you don't have a CSM already, CSMs are really, really essential to the success of your business. Their entire title is a success manager. Excellent, excellent role. I always contact my CSMs and work through them. Well, thanks for coming. This is a great show today, great turnout. So my first question for you is, how many of you, is anybody here a cloud expert, like legitimately you're a real no-kidding cloud expert? Yeah, that's a good answer. Nobody put their hand up. Because if you were, I would expect that like you had your own Spore drive running in your basement or something like that on this mycelial network or some variation therein. If you didn't catch that joke, you need to be watching new Star Trek. Yeah, there's a revival in Star Trek happening right now that is really outstanding. So my name is Tom Furleman. I will have the pleasure for the next 50 minutes or so to introduce you to our unique culture. It is very peculiar. I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. I hopefully will leave a little bit of time for questions, but also you're welcome to email me. I have the coolest email address in all of Amazon. Innovation@amazon.com is me. That's the coolest email address. So if you have any questions, you can't forget it. Send an email to innovation@amazon.com. It'll come to me and actually my entire team. A couple of them are out in the audience right now, and ask questions. I'll share PowerPoints with you. We'll talk. We'll meet. Whatever I can do to answer questions for you. So I get a lot of questions from customers on how does Amazon innovate? What is our method of innovation? How is it that we're constantly iterating and experimenting and creating all these really cool things? And so I'm going to try to answer that for you today. But I want to make it really clear that this is how we innovate. I'm going to actually pull the curtain back and be very honest on what we do. If there's a secret sauce, it'll be in my message on how we innovate. But it's not the only way to innovate. There are many ways to innovate. The way we do it might not work for you, and that's fine. But it works for us, and we're happy to share that with you both today and afterwards. Pardon me. I didn't grab a bottle of water. If someone could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. I usually have one up here. So our mission statement is incredibly broad. It's to be Earth's most customer-centric company. I sort of joke that I feel like it's going to be like the universes or galaxies in the future. Thank you. That is intentional. We intend to focus broadly. We're not into a single market. We don't just sell stuff on the internet. We're not just a technology company. We have consumers and sellers and content creators and certainly builders, developers. We have enterprises, and we operate worldwide, right? But though we're very broad, read again what that says. Customer-centric company. While it's a broad statement, it's incredibly narrowly focused. If you're at Amazon, you're going to come across this statement constantly. You're going to be challenged with customer centricity, customer thinking. And everything I talk about will dive deeper into what it means to be customer obsessed. So there are many things that you can focus your mission, your business, your organization on, right? Some organizations, they focus on competitors, some focus on technology. There are infinite number of places and things that you could focus on. We focus very specifically on the customer for one reason. We believe that if we can focus on customers above everything else, all things will pan out. But when you focus on customers like that, you have to recognize that it really lets you innovate out to the edge, and it lets you put yourself in their perspective. Why? Well, because customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. anytime a customer even says that they're happy, everything's going well, they want more. So if you can do that for them, you're going to innovate at enormous scales. Whereas if you innovate around other categories, you're likely going to be restrained by that category, but you will never be restrained by customer obsession. So by focusing on customers as we do, it really has diversified the business, right? I mean, you look at everything that we're into. So I was an early adopter of Amazon. Book buying. Anybody still buy books on Amazon? Of course you do, right? I have a whole library of books. When I was in college and undergrad, I was downloading books or buying books online in the early days. Well, we still do that. E-commerce business still exists, obviously. Certainly AWS. I'll talk a lot about AWS as well. And we have a devices business, right? My house is wrapped in Ring devices and Echo devices, and my wife and I recently bought, about a year and a half ago, a former coal mine. Yes, I did. I bought a former coal mine with a farm on it, and we've been renovating this house and on the farm, a small farmhouse, and we've put Echo devices in there. And now I've learned that all of the Alexa in both my house and my mountain are on one platform. So when I activate play music on all speakers, she's playing in all my houses. So I'm learning how to use devices differently. But we have a whole devices business, and then obviously we have a whole streaming business, right? I mean, how many of you are Prime members, right? Everybody's a Prime member. Thank you very much for being a Prime member. Love it. We have a consumables business. I mean, what made us get into consumables? What made us buy into Whole Foods? Why did we do that? Why are we in all of these different businesses, including physical retail locations? There's one centralized reason. One reason. It's customer obsession. We thought that we had an ability to innovate on behalf of the customers. Think about something like Amazon Go. So Amazon Go, when we created that just checkout technology, there was a reason for that. We believed that our AI/ML services had the ability to answer a customer problem. So we said, how can we make it easier for people to shop quickly? So think of me as a busy, on-the-go tech professional. I just want to run downstairs, grab a bite to eat, and get back to my work really quickly. How can I make that work for Tom? So we thought, well, we could do, phone scan, or we could do some sort of quick checkout, and all this stuff is it's all kind of been done. It's not thinking big. It's too general, and it's been done before. So we came up with the idea to say, all right, what if we could eliminate the need to check out entirely, the need to stand in line entirely, completely eliminate that? And so we began to iterate on that using our vision capabilities primarily. And now we have this just checkout technology where you simply walk into a Go store, you grab a basket, you put your stuff in it, and you walk out. Let's say you're in the store and you put something in and you take it out and say, I don't want that. I'm going to put it back on the shelf. It recognizes that. No checkout. You just walk in, pick up your stuff, and walk out. I can actually go in with my wife, take an object off the shelf, put it in my basket, put it in her basket. She puts it back on the shelf. We're not charged for it. Just walk out technology. Solve one customer problem. Focus on that, the need to stand in line. So that's why we're in all of those businesses. So we create these things internally to Amazon called flywheels. We create flywheels for everything. And when we think about the flywheel for the website, Amazon.com, this is it. It's built on this flywheel, and it's as simple as this. Decision making on innovating is as simple as this. So we create a really great customer experience, and we're constantly innovating around that. I have the privilege of being a tester for many of the things, the new innovations on the website. And every little feature and button. Some of the innovations you're probably not even recognizing are making it better, slicker, easier for you as certainly a Prime member. But that customer innovation, creating that great experience, it's driving more traffic. More people are going to the website. So we're able to scale that accordingly. The more traffic that we create creates more sellers. Okay, and then we innovate around the seller experience to make it easier for sellers to provide more selection. That's the flywheel that exists for the website. It's as simple as that. When we do that at scale, we're able to lower costs and pass those costs on to you. And nobody here is going to say they don't appreciate lower costs. I mean, there's a fundamental thought process in this. When we innovate, it's around durable customer needs. That's what we're talking about here. A durable customer need. A customer need that will be sustained regardless of everything else. Think about it. The durable customer need here is price, selection, and convenience. That's what we're innovating around. Focusing on customer benefits for price, selection, and convenience. Because we know you're never going to come to me and say, Tom, you know, I like Amazon.com, but I wish the prices were a little higher. You're just not going to do that. You're not going to say to me, Tom, you know, I like Amazon.com, but I wish it wasn't as convenient. Those trucks come to my house too often. You know, it's too easy for me to return things. You're never going to say those things to me. So if I focus on innovating around those durable customer needs, I'm always going to hit the button correctly. So let's get started with 39 minutes left. We focus, this is my secret sauce, if you will. This is my secret sauce. If you want to learn anything about innovating at Amazon, these are the 4 pillars that we build innovation around. We build innovation around culture, mechanism, architecture, and organization. Now, I'm going to pick each one of these apart. Culture, we obsess over customers. We hire builders, people that want to wake up every day and create really cool, innovative products or solutions or services for customers. And we support them with a very, very powerful belief system. Every organization I've ever been in, you've all seen it, right, has mission statements. Probably a third of you at best can remember your organizational mission statement. I was in an organization once, they gave us a business card. It was all metal. It was like this heavy steel thing, and it was etched with the mission statement on it. It had some stuff on the back. I don't even remember what it was. And it fit in your wallet, except for it went off every time we went through the airport, and it caused all kinds of searches things. But I can't tell you, even though they spent that big amount of money for that metal object, I don't even know what the mission statement. I was there for 16 years. I don't even know what the mission statement was. At Amazon, we have leadership principles, not mission statements necessarily. We have leadership principles. You can Google these, search these, read these. There are books you can buy on a website called Amazon.com. Check it out. The leadership principles are anything and everything that is the pulse of Amazon. We live, not just AWS, all of Amazon, on these LPs, and they are vernacular. We talk about them every day. You will be in a meeting and somebody will say to you, I don't think you're being customer obsessed enough. Or, we need to dive deeper on this. You have ownership of this. We really focus on training internally. We are learn and be curious. We deliver results. We have very high standards. We talk about frugality. This is the real, no kidding, language we use internally. We even have a mechanism, or an LP, pardon me, around how to deal with disagreements, because the disagreements are going to happen. We have an LP we call Disagree and Commit. I could walk you through that more, but let's move on. I love this one right here. Invent and simplify. The role of a leader is to remove barriers to innovation. And one of the ways you can do that is by simplifying things. Make things easier for your organization. Simplify. You can make one small, seemingly insignificant, innovative simplification, but when then scaled out to millions of iterations, becomes incredibly valuable. But if you're going to be a real leader in your organization, you're going to have to accept being misunderstood for a long period of time. And we have definitely faced that. Think about the Kindle. Okay? Anybody ever had the first bulky Kindles? Right, I saw some hands. Those big bulky devices, heavier than a book, lots of buttons on it. Our goal was not to create the slickest device. That was not the goal initially. The goal was to solve one customer need, a durable customer need, to deliver any book in any language in 60 seconds or less. That was the goal. If we could achieve that goal, then we could iterate on it. But that was the customer-obsessed goal. And from there, we iterated, created a really slick device, and it now just sort of falls away that you're not reading a book. It's just like physically, it's not, you don't feel the technology, you feel the experience of the writer, and that's what we wanted. We wanted it to be an experience that you actually dive in like a book, roll up, and be able to experience what the writer's saying. 60 seconds or less. That was the durable customer need. I love this one. Being willing to be misunderstood a long period of time is AWS. I mean, Wall Street had a fit. They said, are you guys crazy? That is a risky bet. What do you guys know about technology? You're going to need an entire customer, sales force. And, is this stuff secure? And, why don't you focus on making your, consumer business profitable first before you do all this stuff? But the thing is we knew we had created some internal capabilities in our cloud computing, internally, our computation capability, compute services, that we thought customers, enterprises would benefit from it. And lo and behold, today, Wall Street loves us. But more important, our customers love us. That's what really matters to us. We have reduced prices since launch of over 107 times. We have well over 200 services around compute, database, networking, AI, ML, IoT, analytics, you name it, go on and on. We're transacting millions of active customers every single month. I love this LP. Is another one. This one comes up a lot. Customer obsession comes up probably the most. Within Amazon, another one is bias for action. Make decisions, execute, move quickly. We actually have an internal mechanism I'll talk about. How do we measure when it's time to move and not? But we know that in business and mission, speed matters. There are many decisions and actions that are reversible. You don't need to study every single detail in order to execute. Move quickly. And we teach people within Amazon how to do this. We have this mechanism that we deal with called a one-way and two-way doors. It's an internal vernacular that we use all the time. So a one-way door is a really difficult decision, something like a data center or from fulfillment center, right? These are things you need to study exhaustively before you move forward. And we do that. We dive deep on those things. But those are rare. Most decisions are not one-way doors. Most decisions are two-way doors. We teach people within Amazon that if you have about 70% of the information you need to make a decision, execute. If you're waiting for 90%, you're moving way too slow. For us, something like deploying a feature on a mobile app is a two-way door. We can deploy that, we can test it live, and we can pull that back. Okay? So one-ways and two-way doors are really important in decision-making and executing very quickly because bias for action is an important LP for us. Mechanisms, we mechanize everything. Everything's a mechanism. Now you probably think of mechanisms as processes. I need mechanisms at my age. It's really helpful because I forget things. And so we mechanize things so that I can focus on higher value things. So you see it as a process. You see it as a process, right? Input, output, sequence of events. For us, we create tools, we adopt those tools, we inspect the results. That's our flywheel for mechanizing things. An example of this in my own work was, I guess about a year ago, I had the role of intake of all working backwards engagements. I'll talk a little bit more about working backwards. The intake of all of those. And we just had so many customer requests to do workshops to help the customers innovate like Amazon. It's a no-cost service we provide for customers. And I didn't have good metrics, I didn't have good tracking. It was, an Excel spreadsheet. It just wasn't an effective Amazonian mechanism. We're a data-driven company and I didn't have data. So I spun up the resources needed and created a very basic front end with really basic metrics. I showed that to one of my colleagues, Monica Carranza, who's an expert in working backwards for our public sector customers. And we modified a few features, we made some changes to smooth it out a little bit. And within a couple of weeks, we were deploying it out to our team. And today, even a month into that initial experiment, we were capable of going global. We didn't have to study a lot. We didn't have to experiment. I didn't need to get approval. I had all the resources, capability, and authority. Execute, move fast, bias for action. This was easily a two-way door, and now it's a globally capable tool for measuring the intake and reporting of all of our engagements. So the most important mechanism at Amazon is our working backwards process. Every service, when I say every, I mean every service that's ever been created at Amazon has used the working backwards process. It's very simple. We function on a fictional press release that you will write. If you have an idea for a service, you will create the press release, a set of FAQs, not particularly technical, but deeper dive into the questions that executives might have, and then visualizations that will go with this. We do not use a long acquisition life cycle, right? We're all public sector here, more than likely, and I've been in the business, DoD and NatSec, national security, for my entire adult life, and I have dealt with the acquisition process and the nightmare that it is. We do not function that way at all. We function off of working backwards. And I'm going to pick this apart for you a little bit, because this is essential to how we think about doing business. So we run these workshops. I do it for DoD customers. I'm focused just on Department of Defense customers, providing a no-cost workshop for them where I help them create a net new product or solution. I help them basically innovate like Amazon does. We have a whole team focused on public sector, and we have another team dedicated to commercial. But it's all about creating a net new product or solution. And this is how it looks. So it's a 90-day process to go from general problem that the customer doesn't fully understand. They know they have a problem, they know they want to fix something, but they don't really know how to yet, to a working prototype in 90 days. That's how quickly we can move. So it starts with a listening phase where we're beginning to rack and stack problems to understand what those priorities are, because everybody has different views of what those priorities are, what the pain points will be, and we're looking for the one that is at the top that we want to tackle today. Then we move into a define stage where we use some really simple ways to understand the customer and the customer's position in the problem. We use something called a today statement. It says something like, today for Tom to be able to do X, Y, and Z, he has to do A, B, C first, and it's kind of not working. Here's what he needs. That's as simple as the argument gets to understand the problem in a very pithy way. And then we do a really cheeky exercise called a Crazy 8. The Crazy 8 is everyone in the workshop has 8 minutes to create 8 think big ideas to solve that initial problem for that initial, we create a persona, problem person that's having a problem. And we then all vote on that to find the top solution that we're going to focus on that top problem for the customer that's having the greatest pain point. And then we begin to draft the PR, FAQ, and visualizations and move from there to a prototype that typically involves another short workshop that is using our form of Agile, where we'll use epics and user stories to create functionality. So we'll talk about user functionality. We do this because it doesn't cost us anything to do this. We've not written a single line of code. We've not cost anything. We've not even spun up any resources, and now we know all the paths, the solutions, functionality, and what the customer needs. It filters out these questions. When we do this, we answer these. Who is the customer? What is the customer's problem or opportunity? Is the most important customer benefit clear? How do you know the customer needs or wants? And what does the customer experience look like? That is everything you will build towards. And we flesh all of that out with customers. This is how it looks. Press release. The press release is a one-page fictional, never to be published in the Washington Post document that leaps into the future and envisions a day when whatever the world hunger problem was is now solved. It has fictional quotes, fictional benefits, fictional users. I have done this for Navy customers, Air Force, Army, Fourth Estate customers, you name it. The FAQs are a deeper dive, not particularly technical, but they're going to be what the senior leadership is going to ask you. And then we do visualization, simply caricature drawings that show Tom using whatever the tool or the IoT might be, so that we have all the framework we need to be able to successfully build the right tool for the customer. So we are a narrative culture. We don't use PowerPoint. I use it here because it helps us stay on track, gives me a talk point, it's kind of entertaining. But internally, you will never come to a decision meeting with PowerPoints. They don't exist. We're a narrative culture. We write. If you don't know how to write when you come to Amazon, you're going to learn to write Amazonian. We have a little widget that goes in Word that searches for weasel words. Weasel words. So I've been a consultant prior to my current role at Amazon for about 3.5 years, where I wrote some of those documents with consulting terms in them, right, that nobody can quite understand. And I regret that. I'm sorry if some of you are my former customers. I apologize. I'm not going to refund you any money or anything, but know that I have pain for those things. So we're a narrative culture. If you have a good idea, you're going to write about it. And the way it works, we generally do about what we call 6-pagers. If you Google it, that's the phrase you're going to hear. We actually do 2-pagers, 6-pagers, 10-pagers, but the one you know about is a 6-pager. So you're going to write a 6-pager for your good idea. And you're going to work on that, and you're going to write it Amazonian style, very pithy, very specific. And then you're going to gather together a 2-pizza team. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And you'll sit in probably a closed room with about 10 people, may not even have a window on it, maybe one whiteboard, and you're going to put a bunch of red markers in the middle, and you're going to staple your 6-pager together, and then you're going to pass it out to everybody in the room. And you're going to sit there for 20 minutes in silence. Have you ever sat in silence with a bunch of adults that wasn't a religious event? And it is very awkward. It took a lot for me to really get used to it. I was very uncomfortable, and they are just going to demolish. I mean, your MBA professor could not butcher your documents better than they will. They will butcher your document, and you're never allowed to have double-spaced. It's single-spaced document, typically 10-point font, 11-point font, not 12, because you're squeezing too much into 6 pages. And we don't do double space because we don't want people to have room to write. So the editors, the writers, your 2-pizza team, they need to struggle to get the right words with those thick markers in there, very pithy and specific. Okay? But what have you gained here? You've gained buy-in, commitment, a really great vision going forward. You have path. You're going to do this a couple of times before this document is ready, and it goes up and up and up the chain of command till you get funding and approval to execute whatever thing you were trying to build. It is a great process for innovating, but it is incredibly painful. So I want to talk about architecture. So no one here is a cloud expert. You just committed to that. I love using that mycelial network. Did anybody catch my joke, mycelial networks? I love it. Like 5 people understood what I was talking about. That's horrible. So there was a time before AWS, obviously, when we had this behemoth code base. Everybody had it, right? We all had this behemoth code base locked into long-term contracts that you couldn't get out of for licensing purposes. All gatekeeping was centralized, security was centralized, and you had to wait in long lines to be able to execute things. I remember, executing, I did this one time. I executed a process on a mainframe and I got fired because I was out of cycle and I didn't have approval to execute. But anyway, we had a time where we did not have AWS, and we began to realize that it really wasn't going to let us innovate at the scale we need to. So we began to break that architecture apart into a service-oriented architecture, decoupling it into hardened APIs. Even today, the buy button on the website is its own service. The tax calculation is its own service. So now you can innovate around every decoupled, hardened API that you need, and we can do it at scale. Where I kind of became most aware of the benefits of this was when I was in my bathroom, because I do my best thinking in the bathroom. Good, you laughed. A couple laughed on the second part. I had to clue you into it being a joke. So I'm in my bathroom going to bed, and I have an Echo device in the bathroom, and it was swirling, right? She's telling me there's a notification, so she's doing the swirl thing. And I asked her, what is the announcement? Alexa, what is the announcement? And she read back to me a comment that someone had left to a question I had made on the website. So I was looking to buy a product, but I had questions about it. So I typed in a question about that product on Amazon.com. Somebody then responded and provided an answer to my question. She sent the notification to my bathroom Echo device, to my Echo devices in my house, and then asked me, and then I responded, and then she read it. She read the audio of that statement the person provided, and then asked me a question to say, did I answer your question? And I said, yes, and so she closed out the transaction. Think about what's happening here. The scale, the magnitude is mycelial, right? This is warp drive stuff. This is incredible. It's dawned on me what is actually happening, that she could do that, and that was just me. That transaction is happening upon millions of millions of iterations per second in multiple languages every minute. That can only happen. That can't happen with the former hard, database and backend services that we had. It can only happen with something like AWS. But it's not even that. Well, that's really cool. What it really did is it unlocked innovation. The creation of AWS lets everybody be an innovator. Everybody can experiment at any scale that they want. Think about the service that I created, the basic front end to do intake and reporting. I didn't need approval for that. I ran tests and experiments multiple times. And when I went at home at night, I just turned it off, right? If you are running your on-site, on-prem hardware or your server under your desk, it's like your car. So you drive your car into your garage, you put it there, and you go to bed, you're paying for it. You're still paying for it when you're not using it. You're not using that server, you're still paying for that capital expenditure. With AWS, You spin up the resources you need when you need them. When you're done, you turn them off. When you go home, you turn them off. You go on vacation, sleep at night, you turn it off. I was able to experiment very quickly because I did that, and I had no centralized gatekeeper to prevent me from innovation. The role of a leader is to remove barriers to innovation. So this led instant experimentation and lower the cost of failure, and it enabled rapid scale of innovation on AWS. So I want to wrap up. I'm going to leave probably a good 8 minutes or so for questions, and I am open to really any questions. I want to talk about organization. We are a very peculiar organization. We are very small and agile in how we execute within a very big company. We empower teams to make all their own decisions really, really quickly, and we expect them to do that. We function on this thing called two pizza teams. So two pizza team is nothing more than a team that can be fed with two pizzas. Now I know everybody can eat different sized pizzas, that's not the point, right? A two pizza team is generally 8 to 10, no more than 12 people. And for us, that's a very functional team. 8 is a good size. We make decisions, big decisions on 8 pizza or two pizza teams. But the two pizza team isn't just about the size of the people, it's also like how we structure it. So we apply a single threaded leader to every team. What we mean by that is a single threaded leader is someone who has all the authority, resources, commitments to execute. We don't have a condition where we check in incrementally in order to move to the next step. Now, the milestones are predefined, probably in your 6-pager or in your FAQs that you might write. That pre-decision authority is all known. You're going to know when you've hit those milestones. Execute, keep moving. If by chance you need to bring in new people in order to, like you find a new tangent and you have to work on that, you will actually stand up another two pizza team with another single threaded leader who will execute on that thread. And you might share, obviously, well, you'll share along the way, but you're executing on your two pizza team. The thing is, two pizza teams do not guarantee everything. You will have failure. If you're in an organization that doesn't accept a measure of failure, I feel for you. Because failure and invention are inseparable twins. If you're going to invent, you're going to experience failure along the way. And you should plan for that, expect it. That's why you iterate in small scale. That's why you operate on AWS, because everybody can innovate at scale that they need. But we've experienced this before. We have had our fair share of failures. We don't hide from them, we learn from them. So we started off with something called auctions. It's an online environment where people could trade stuff and sell things, and it didn't catch on very well. It didn't really last. And then we tried again with something called Z-Shops, where you paid a small fee and you could sell things, and that didn't work either. But the thing was, we stayed stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. Stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. And then we landed on something called Marketplace, and Marketplace is working great. We also had a huge failure. So it turns out that building hardware is very hard, and we tried to create a Fire phone. Did anybody have a Fire phone? Yeah, nobody even had one. So we created this phone, Fire phone, and it didn't work. We had a $170 million inventory write-down on the Fire phone. That's a failure, and in many organizations, some people would probably lose their job. If nothing else, they would be embarrassed out of the organization, but that's not how it works at Amazon. The people that created the Fire phone, they went on to create the Echo and Alexa devices. They learned from their failures, and they weren't going to make them again, and they created this really great devices. I'm sure all of you have smart Echo devices around your house. Yeah. So recap, we build around 4 pillars. This is the secret sauce of Amazon's success. Customer obsession. We hire builders, we train them, equip them with a belief system in our leadership principles. We actually do use the leadership principles, like no kidding. They're in conversations all the time. We mechanize everything because we forget things. Encoded behaviors are really important to helping people stay focused and lowering the cost of incremental tasks that they don't need to focus on, letting them focus on higher value things. We create a robust architecture and everybody gets access to it. And even when you're not using AWS, we have internal tools that we use that are really helpful. I've recently had a couple of customers ask me about our pulse surveys. So we have this thing every morning that pops up on our computer screens that asks us a very simple question. Are you happy today? Are you satisfied with your boss today? Here's one that they ask. Does your boss have the skills and ability to lead you? Does your manager know how to write Amazonian? Hard questions, right? These pop up every day, and then your manager aggregates these without knowing who said what unless you put your own text in. And then they can measure performance of the team. Instead of doing an end of year, what does the government have? Government survey, end of year, pulse check or something like that. We do it in real time instead of point in time. So I get that a lot. So we function on organizationally small, agile teams.
Is the working backwards process optional? It sounds great, but it seems like a lot of work. Oh boy, how do we begin? The working backwards process should not be optional unless you know a better way. And you shouldn't know a better way until you've tried the working backwards process several times. The working backwards process really does work. And this particular thing here, it sounds great, but it seems like a lot of work. Done correctly, the working backwards process is a huge amount of work, but it saves you even more work later. The working backwards process is not designed to be easy. It's designed to save huge amounts of work on the back end and to make sure that we're actually building the right thing. What so many companies do is they write the software. That's a lot of work. They get it all working, and then they throw it over the wall to the marketing department and say, okay, here's what we built. Write the press release for it. That process is the one that's actually backwards.
I love that video. So how do I get started innovating like Amazon? Well, there's a couple of very simple ways. Like I said, it's a no-cost service my team offers. Takes about 90 days. We don't sign any contracts or commitments. You could go through the process and decide you're not going to build on AWS. That's fine. I might be unhappy a little bit, but it's acceptable. But we do ask for a couple of things if you're going to do this. We do expect that there will be executive or senior leadership buy-in. You're going to struggle to innovate if you don't have senior leader line of business support to execute. I've seen it happen where it's bottom up. It does, but if you do not have leadership buy-in, you're going to hit a wall and you're not going to move forward. So we actually expect that if you're going to innovate with us, one of our workshops, that you have leadership buy-in, and we expect to engage with them on that. They won't be involved in the workshop because when they're in the room, nobody answers any of the questions. It sways the entire focus. But C-suite commitment, general officer, SES, 06 type decision maker. A commitment to identify problems that are customer focused. This can be a struggle for some of our government customers because you don't use the term customer, particularly my DoD customers. I help them translate customer, mission owner, know that they're the same things, and we'll use those terms interchangeably. And then a willingness to commit to the time. We run these virtual and in physical. I have some customers that say, you know what, I want to do this all at one time. We're going to sit down for 3 days and we're going to knock it out. That's exhausting. I don't encourage doing it, but we do have customers that do it. My recommendation is 3 hours this day, 3 hours this day, 2 hours this day, spread it over a week or two, come out to HQ2 and run the workshops there, do maybe a little bit virtually, lower the pain so that you can continue to work as well. We will bring all of our mechanisms, all of our experience. We will provide end-to-end engagement. We will have a CSM involved to help you carry this forward. The account teams will be involved, and we will deliver our LPs, particularly a bias for action, to deliver. And a couple things leave you with. Don't know if you can QR code these from that far, but we have Skill Builder to help you learn and certifications to help you grow your experience and actually learn how to run that mycelial network that I talked about on AWS one day. I'll just leave that up there. And the next slide is questions and answers. So I'll leave that up there, questions. Any questions whatsoever. I did get a question one time that I wasn't able to answer. It was about a huge government contract that we competed with and is recompeted again because of some presidential. Anyway, moving on from that, I won't answer those kind of questions. It's above my pay grade. So please, sir, we'll start right here. You were the first one with a hand up, and we'll keep going.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Stefan Van Beerschoten, and I work for ASM Research, a federal integrator. I have a question about your backwards process, or Amazon's backwards process. For new people, is there like a minimum required attempts you have to do every year? And of those, how many are you allowed to fill in the, whole you're allowed to fill kind of mantra? And I have a couple more real quick. Who is in the two pizza team? Is it noobs, mediums, or senior people, all of the above? Do you get to pick your own team? How does that work? And that's it.
Let me see if I can remember all this. So we have an LP that you are right a lot. We actually, if I brought the LPs up, you would see one that says, be right a lot. I think if you fail over and over and over, you're not right a lot. You're going to allow people are going to allow areas of failure, but if you're failing, you need to be asking questions. The resources are there to help you be successful, bring others into the fold. We actually have a very humble internal culture. And so if you're not asking questions, if you're not expressing a degree of humility, and yet you're not succeeding at something, there's going to be a detectable or a noticeable fit question. And it happens. People, move on. There is a realization that we have our first year generally. This is internal talk. I told you I'd be honest with you. We have a thing called imposter syndrome. Your first year, I see the Amazonians in the room like, oh yeah, you're going to feel like you're an imposter for a year because you're with the smartest people you've ever met, moving at speeds that you've never seen before, and you're trying to navigate, learn all of this. So yeah, the other question was, the second part was, just yell it.
Your two pizza teams.
Two pizza teams.
Do you make your own, and who's in it?
You make your own pizzas. And you get the people in your teams that you decide you need. It depends upon what you're building. If you're actually writing code, you better have coders that have skills in that. And I use that joke about who's an Amazonian or who's a cloud expert because there are so many services and things are constantly changing that you're never going to have a single person that is an expert in everything. It's just, I haven't seen it yet, and I've seen some smart people. So you pick your teams, you build your teams, and it's really up to you. We have an LP called ownership, so you own everything that you execute. The person that created the recently launched Amazon Healthcare, she wrote a PRFAQ, I think it was a 6-pager, I want to say like 3 years ago. And from the 6-pager she wrote, 3 years later, we incrementally rolled out a healthcare service offering where she is now the lead of that. So she wrote the 6-pager, and she owns the healthcare business. So you have a vision, do it. Sir?
Yep, about one more question.
Okay, one more.
Hi, I'm Professor Wayne Fox from New Jersey Institute of Technology. I teach artificial intelligence and machine learning to our graduate students. I've been through 6 of the 7 IBM Academic Initiative courses where they take college instructors and take them through their system. And the good thing about that is it's curated so that you can get through the material in some logical fashion. But instead of boiling the entire ocean, you get focused on individual things. They've moved to something called Skills Build, which I think they're following you as opposed to you following them. And I was just wondering if you have some kind of program designed so that we can instruct our students are very interested in this, but asking them to just go through and look at 500 different courses and figure out their own way through, this would be very helpful if Amazon could help us to work through the process, because I don't want to just teach them about IBM if when, there's Amazon is available as well.
Sure. So shoot me an email. Anyone, shoot me any emails. I'll try to answer your questions. If you're looking for a job, I'll send you to the jobs website. And that'll be where we'll start. Innovation@amazon.com is my email address. To answer your question, though, we have a lot of different training initiatives that would be helpful. I teach as an adjunct professor in data analytics at George Mason, so I teach machine learning, and I'm the last professor they come up to build their prototypes. And I have instructional plans and training curriculum and guideposts, and I can share all that with you. But go to AWS/training and take a look. My clock has run out. I will make sure I'm in the back and out in the hallways if anybody has questions, and shoot me an email. All right, thank you.